The more you try to control everything, the more you limit yourself. Real power doesn't come from gripping tighter. It comes from letting go. The illusion of control is the biggest limitation to breakthrough. We spend so much of our lives gripping onto control like it's oxygen. We cling to the outcomes, the circumstances, the timing, the people around us, and we convince ourselves that if we just tighten our grip a little more, if we just push harder, if we just try to control every variable, everything will fall into place. But what actually happens, the more you cling, the more life pushes back. The more you try to force certainty, the more resistance you create. We don't realize this, but control is often just fear in disguise. It's fear of failure, fear of being judged, fear of disappointment, fear that we might not be enough if things don't go our way. So we attempt to control every detail of our environment thinking it's the safe choice. But in reality, it becomes the prison that holds us back. Most people are not burned out from work, dreams, or the grind. They're exhausted from trying to control everything. You can feel the tension of someone who's always forcing life, always managing every outcome, constantly trying to protect themselves from the unknown. That tension becomes emotional weight. It becomes mental clutter. And eventually, it becomes the invisible ceiling that keeps you from stepping into the life aligned with your potential. Life isn't asking you to control every moment. It's asking you to show up as the person who can handle any moment. But when you're focused on control, your energy is scattered. You're not living with intention, you're living with fear, disguised as strategy. Think about it. How many opportunities have you shut down because you feared losing control? How many dreams have you delayed because the timing wasn't perfect? How many relationships have you pushed away because you feared vulnerability? How many times did life try to open a door for you, but you were too busy holding on to the old one? Control convinces you that if you don't hold on tight, things will fall apart. But the truth is, sometimes things need to fall apart so better things can fall together. You don't need to control it. You need to participate in it. You need to trust your ability to adapt, to grow, to pivot. The illusion of control keeps you playing small. It keeps you operating from a place of survival instead of expansion. The moment you say, I have to make everything perfect, you've already lost. Because perfection and control are just anchors that keep you rooted to the same patterns that haven't brought you the life you want. The breakthrough comes when you release the need to manipulate every moving part. That's when clarity arrives. That's when creativity opens. That's when new opportunities and ideas start showing up. Not because they didn't exist before, but because you finally made room for them. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in life don't come from controlling the situation. They come from surrendering to a bigger vision, from trusting the process, from asking a new question. What if I stop trying to control the outcome? And focused instead on becoming the person who's ready for it. Because when you evolve, your life evolves. When you release fear, your power rises. You don't need to know every detail. You don't need to have every answer. You don't need the perfect plan, the perfect moment, or the perfect circumstances. Those are the excuses we tell ourselves while we wait for certainty. Every breakthrough begins with uncertainty. Every transformation begins with discomfort. Every new level of success demands that you let go of what you think you need in order to discover what you're truly capable of. When you stop trying to control everything, you gain something far greater, the freedom to move, to grow, to take action without fear. You begin to shift from force to flow. You start working with life instead of against it. And that's when alignment happens. The moment you stop gripping so tightly to your limitations, your excuses, and your fear, life responds. The moment you decide to release control, new solutions, new strength, and new opportunities begin to show up. So the question is not, how do I control more? The question is, what do I need to let go of so I can rise? Because the illusion of control never made you powerful. What makes you powerful is the willingness to trust your own ability to grow beyond the old version of yourself. Let go of control and watch what opens. When you release control, you create space for growth, clarity, and new possibilities. Most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid uncertainty. They want answers before they take action. They want guarantees before they make a move. They want every step mapped out before they take the first one. And because they fear uncertainty, they cling to control like it's the only way forward. But control is a wall. It blocks possibilities you haven't considered yet. It restricts the flow of life that is trying to move you forward. The moment you release it, you shift from limitation into expansion. There are moments in life when holding on becomes the reason you're stuck. You're trying to control outcomes so tightly that you suffocate your own growth. You're so focused on one path, one plan, one idea that you close your eyes to every other opportunity life is trying to show you. But when you let go, something powerful happens. You create space for something new to enter. You create room for creativity, for new ideas, for different strategies. You create the mental clarity to see what was always available to you but blocked by fear. People think letting go means stepping back, slowing down, or giving up control of your destiny. Letting go is none of those. Letting go simply means releasing the illusion that you need to force everything to happen. It means releasing the grip of fear that keeps you in the same patterns. It means opening yourself to possibilities bigger than the plans you first imagined. There is a version of your life waiting that you haven't even visualized yet, but you can't access it with clenched fists. You need open hands. When you release control, your perspective widens. You start seeing solutions where you once saw problems. You start noticing opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You start discovering paths where you once saw dead ends. You become resourceful in a way you couldn't be when you were holding on too tightly. Letting go creates a space for ideas to surface that never had oxygen before. It allows intuition, creativity, and inner strength to rise to the surface. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. The need for control is rooted in fear, not power. The need for control is the mind's defense mechanism to avoid discomfort. But growth doesn't come from comfort. Growth comes from stepping into uncertainty with confidence. It comes from trusting that you're capable of responding to whatever comes next. Life rewards those who are willing to open the door, even when they don't know what's on the other side. Think about the moments in your life that changed everything. Were they planned? Were they predictable? Were they controlled? Most breakthroughs come when life throws you into the unknown and you decide to show up anyway. Letting go is saying, I trust myself to figure this out. I trust my strength. I trust my resilience. That's the most powerful decision you can make. Because when you stop trying to control everything, you stop being afraid of what might happen and start stepping into what's possible. Releasing control frees you from the expectation that life must look a certain way. You start seeing that the detours were actually the path. The setbacks were actually redirecting you. The closed doors were actually protecting you. Letting go doesn't make you weaker. It makes you adaptable. It makes you courageous. It makes you capable of rising in any circumstance, not just the perfect one. There is a process unfolding in your life that is bigger than your fear. There are opportunities aligning for you that you cannot engineer, but they only appear when you release the need to dictate every detail. When you stop forcing, you start receiving. When you stop clinging, you start rising. When you stop resisting, you start aligning. Because when you release control, what you gain is far more valuable. The ability to step into a future designed for your growth. Life aligns when you align your mindset. Focus on what you can influence, not what you fear. We all have a tendency to let fear hijack our thinking. We obsess over what might go wrong, what we might lose, and what we can't control. We get caught up in the future we haven't lived yet, and the past we can't change. Fear creates a story in the mind, a narrative that something is going to fall apart. And once you believe that story, you start living from it. You make decisions from it. You shape your identity around it. Fear becomes the filter through which you see your entire world. But here's the truth. Your life is not shaped by the circumstances around you. Your life is shaped by the meaning you attach to those circumstances. Two people can face the same challenge, and one sees it as a dead end. The other sees it as a doorway. The difference isn't luck, intelligence, or resources. The difference is focus. The difference is mindset. The moment you choose to focus on what you can influence rather than what you're afraid of, you shift your life from limitation to possibility. I don't care how successful you want to be, how big your goals are, what you want to build, or who you want to become if your mindset is not aligned. Nothing else will align. You can change your environment, your job, your relationships, even your habits. But if you don't change your mindset, you'll always recreate the same outcomes. Because your results in life are always a reflection of your beliefs, your focus, and your state of mind. And the most powerful shift you can ever make is moving from a fear-based mindset to a possibility-based mindset. Fear says, what if I fail? Possibility says, what if this works? Fear says, I don't have control over everything. Possibility says, I don't need control to move forward. Fear says, I'm not ready. Possibility says, I am becoming ready by taking action. When you focus on possibilities instead of problems, life begins to respond. Your mind is always working for you, but it depends on what direction you give it. If you tell your mind to look for fear, doubt, and limitation, it will show you evidence of all the reasons you should stay where you are. If you tell your mind to look for opportunity, solutions, and growth, it will find those too. The brain is a meaning-making machine. It will always answer the question you ask it. So if you ask, what if it all goes wrong? You're going to experience stress and hesitation. But if you ask, what can I do right now to move forward? You step into power and clarity. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. And wherever your energy flows, your life follows. When you focus on fear, you shrink. When you focus on possibility, you expand. When you focus on what you can't control, you stay stuck. When you focus on what you can influence, you begin to transform. That's why mindset alignment isn't just positive thinking, it's strategic thinking, it's choosing where your attention goes. It's deciding to prioritize action over anxiety. It's shifting from reacting to creating. And here's the beautiful part. Your life doesn't have to be perfect or predictable for your mindset to be powerful. You can be scared and still take action. You can be uncertain and still move forward. You can have doubts and still trust your direction. Victory doesn't come from eliminating fear. It comes from choosing not to follow fear. It comes from putting your energy into your strengths, your vision, your growth, and your higher purpose. When you align your mind with your values, your vision, and your goals, life starts aligning around you. Things fall into place because you stopped funneling your power into fear. Your decisions become intentional. Your actions become productive. Your energy becomes magnetic. And suddenly, the world begins to respond differently, not because the world changed, but because you did. The moment you shift your focus from what scares you to what strengthens you, your life begins to align. Uncertainty is the birthplace of transformation, power, and resilience. Most people live their lives trying to avoid it. They want everything to be predictable. They want every outcome planned. They want guarantees before they even take a step. But if you look at the greatest moments of growth in your life, the moments that changed everything, moments where you became stronger, clearer, more capable, those moments didn't come from certainty. They came from stepping into the unknown. They came from being willing to walk into a situation where you didn't have all the answers, but you had the courage to show up anyway. We are conditioned to believe that uncertainty is dangerous. We're told that stepping into unfamiliar territory means risk, exposure, vulnerability. But what we're never told is that uncertainty is also where your greatest potential lies. It's where you discover what you're truly made of. It's where you tap into a level of resourcefulness you didn't know you had. If everything goes according to plan, you never have to stretch, you never have to reinvent, you never have to evolve. You only grow when you are forced to adapt. You only transform when you face something that challenges your identity, your beliefs, and your comfort. The truth is, certainty is just another form of control, and control is just another form of fear. When you demand certainty, you're saying, I don't trust myself to handle what comes next. But when you embrace uncertainty, you're saying, no matter what happens, I will rise. That shift is the difference between living a life shaped by fear and living a life shaped by courage. And courage is the foundation of every breakthrough. It's the willingness to step forward even when the path isn't clear. Think about the times you've taken a leap. Maybe you started something new. Maybe you left something behind. Maybe you made a choice everyone around you questioned. Those weren't moments of control. They were moments of trust. That is where transformation begins. You didn't grow because everything made sense. You grew because you stepped forward despite the uncertainty. You grew because you were willing to feel the discomfort and move anyway. Uncertainty is the proving ground of the human spirit. It brings out your best because it demands your best. It reveals your strength because it tests your strength. Every challenge you ever overcome was uncertain at the beginning. Every new chapter in your life started with doubt. Every success story you admire is built on someone who was willing to say, I may not know what's coming, but I'm going there anyway. They weren't waiting for conditions to be perfect. They didn't wait for total clarity. They acted with faith in their ability to adapt. And here's the powerful thing. Uncertainty doesn't just build strength, it builds resilience. When you've walked through the unknown and survived, you become unshakable. You know you can handle change. You know you can handle adversity. You know you can handle life. The fear loses its power because you've already proven to yourself that you can rise above it. And that resilience becomes your greatest advantage. It becomes the mindset that transforms obstacles into opportunities. When we try to avoid uncertainty, we avoid the very path that would lead us to the life we want. We resist the discomfort that would shape us. We cling to the familiar even when the familiar is what's holding us back. But the moment you let go of the need to control outcomes, when you stop demanding certainty and start embracing possibility, everything shifts. You become flexible instead of fragile. You become powerful instead of fearful. You stop waiting for life to happen and start creating it. There is a pattern in the universe. Evolution comes from chaos. Transformation comes from disruption. Greatness comes from uncertainty, and your life follows the same pattern. The future you want isn't going to come from repeating the past. It's going to come from stepping into something unfamiliar and allowing yourself to rise to the level of your potential. The comfort zone may feel safe, but it never leads to success. It only leads to stagnation. The unknown isn't something to avoid. It's something to step into with intention. It's the gateway to the next version of you. Because every time you choose uncertainty over fear, you grow. Every time you face discomfort instead of running, you expand. Every time you take a step into the unknown, you unlock a new level of your life. You don't need certainty to move forward. You need faith in your ability to handle whatever comes next. Every great achievement, every breakthrough, every success story starts with someone willing to step into uncertainty and say, I'm ready. So stop waiting for a perfect path. Stop waiting for the guarantee. The unknown is not your enemy, it's your invitation. Because uncertainty is not where you lose control, it's where you finally gain your power. Letting go is not giving up, it's shifting from force to flow. Most people don't realize this because they've been trained to equate effort with force, pressure, and struggle. They believe that the harder they push, the faster they should succeed. They try to grind their way through life, holding on to every problem, every plan, every expectation. They think success has to be wrestled into existence. But real progress doesn't come from force. Real progress comes from alignment. Force drains you. Force relies on control, but flow unlocks momentum. Flow invites possibility. Flow requires trust. When you're forcing life, you're fighting against it. You're trying to make something happen in a specific way at a specific time with a specific outcome. But life is never just a straight line. It's full of unexpected turns, setbacks, breakthroughs, opportunities, lessons, and redirections. When you cling to how you believe it must happen, you shut down the intelligence of life that is trying to guide you. But when you let go, not giving up, but surrendering the attachment to how it must look, you allow life to work with you instead of against you. Think about water for a moment. Water doesn't force, it flows. Yet nothing is more powerful than water when it moves with its nature. It shapes rock, it carves mountains, it forms canyons. Why? Because water isn't trying to control what stands in its way. It adapts. It finds the path. It keeps moving. That's what letting go looks like. It's not passive. It's not weak. It is powerful because it is responsive. It is resilient. It is free. You were never meant to hold on so tightly that you fracture under the weight of your plans. You were designed to move, adjust, and grow. But you can't do that if your energy is consumed by forcing outcomes that aren't meant for you. Sometimes the thing you're clinging to is the very thing stopping you from rising. Sometimes the plan you're forcing is too small for the life waiting for you. And sometimes the struggle isn't a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that you're trying to control something that needs to unfold differently. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop micromanaging your destiny. It means you choose direction over desperation. It means you trust the process instead of resisting every twist in the journey. Letting go frees your energy. It frees your creativity. It frees your ability to focus on what actually matters, becoming the person who is ready for the next level of life. When you let go of control, you stop forcing and you start flowing. Flow doesn't mean there's no effort. Flow means the effort pays off. It means you're connected to something greater than fear. It means your beliefs, your goals, your values, and your actions line up. Flow is when life starts cooperating with you because you're finally aligned with where you're meant to go, not where you're afraid to go. Many people mistake letting go for losing. They think if they don't cling, they might fall behind. But holding on to the wrong thing keeps you stuck. Letting go opens the door. Holding on keeps you small. Letting go expands you. Holding on keeps you repeating the same patterns. Letting go reveals new ones. Sometimes letting go isn't the end, it's the beginning. It's the space that allows new possibilities to enter when old ones have already expired. You can fight life, or you can work with it. You can resist change, or you can rise with it. You can stay in force mode, or you can step into flow. When you let go, you start trusting something deeper than the fear of losing control. You start trusting your inner wisdom. You start trusting your resilience. You start trusting your ability to handle whatever comes next. That's where power is born, not in force, not in control, but in faith and movement. And here's the truth. There is a rhythm to life that reveals itself when you stop trying to dominate it. Opportunities appear. Synchronicities align. People show up. Solutions emerge, not because life suddenly got easier, but because you stopped resisting. Flow is what happens when you stop trying to hold the river in your hands and instead step into it. It carries you. It strengthens you, it teaches you, and it takes you to places you could never reach by force. When you let go, you stop operating from fear and start operating from purpose. You stop trying to prove something and start living what you already know. You stop looking for certainty and start building confidence. You step into a state where success isn't forced, it's attracted. It's aligned. It's inevitable. Letting go isn't the end of effort. It's the beginning of power. True success happens when you stop trying to force the win and start serving the why, because when you act from purpose instead of pressure, life starts aligning in ways you could never predict. Most people don't struggle because they lack potential or ambition. They struggle because they're obsessed with the timeline. They want their breakthrough to happen now. They want their goals to manifest on their schedule. They want life to prove something to them at the exact moment they demand it. And when it doesn't, they panic, they doubt. They start forcing, controlling, and pushing harder instead of trusting the process that is unfolding for them. Here's what most people don't realize. When you cling to the timeline, you disconnect from your purpose. You start measuring your worth by speed instead of direction. You focus on how long it's taking instead of who you are becoming. You start comparing yourself to others, forgetting that your journey is not meant to look like anyone else's. And when comparison takes over, clarity disappears, momentum disappears, joy disappears. That's the moment life stops aligning, not because you're unworthy, not because you're failing, but because you shifted your focus from purpose to pressure. Purpose has no deadline. Purpose doesn't need perfect timing. Purpose needs action. Purpose needs presence. Purpose needs consistency. When you act from purpose, you're no longer chasing success. You're embodying the identity of someone who is destined for success. You're not waiting for life to give you permission. You're stepping into your power, whether the timing makes sense or not. Because here's the truth. The universe doesn't respond to impatience. It responds to conviction. It responds to belief. It responds to the person who keeps moving even when the results aren't visible yet. Timelines are just expectations created by fear. They're the mind saying, if it doesn't happen by this date, maybe it was never meant for me. But purpose says something different. Purpose says, it's already mine, I'm just catching up to it. The timing of your success is not your job to control. Your job is to show up. Your job is to grow. Your job is to take steps toward the vision that refuses to leave your heart. Your job is to trust that every delay, every redirection, every setback is part of your preparation. Because what looks like a setback is often an alignment. What looks like a delay is often protection. What feels like the wrong timing is often the perfect moment you can't see yet. Sometimes you're not waiting on the universe is waiting on you. It's waiting for you to become the person who can handle what you're asking for. It's waiting for you to stop forcing outcomes that don't align with your highest path. It's waiting for you to surrender your need for immediate results and step into deeper faith. When you release the timeline, something powerful happens. The pressure dissolves, the anxiety fades. The need to control everything disappears. You start acting from inspiration instead of desperation. You start trusting the process instead of doubting the journey. You stop asking, when will it happen? And start asking, who am I becoming as it unfolds? And that shift changes everything. Because success isn't a moment, it's an identity. And identity is built through action, through patience, through resilience, through purpose. There's a version of you already aligned to the success you want. But you won't meet that version by forcing the timeline. You meet it by working with life, by trusting your evolution, by showing up even when the scoreboard hasn't moved yet. Every time you take a step, guided by purpose instead of fear, you build momentum. You create openings. You magnetize the opportunities meant for you. You start experiencing synchronicity instead of stress, clarity instead of confusion, alignment instead of resistance. You don't need to know how long it will take. You don't need to know exactly when it will happen. You only need to stay aligned with your purpose and keep moving forward with intention. The timeline is not your enemy. The timeline is your teacher. It teaches patience. It teaches trust. It teaches devotion to the vision. Success is never just about arriving. It's about becoming the person who deserves the arrival. So let go of rushing the outcome. Let go of forcing the schedule. Let go of trying to dictate the timing of your destiny. Act from purpose. Move from conviction. Build from belief. And watch how quickly life begins to align, not because you demanded it, but because you became aligned with it. Success happens when you stop rushing the timing and start honoring the purpose.